Welcome back to Joe Son of Boxing. Conor Benn has decided to sue the British Boxing Board of Control, so we're here through all sorts of media outlets, including the mainstream ones. This is for lost earnings amounting to £3.5 million, and it pertains to the cancellation of the fight with Chris Eubank Jr. last year, only 2 days before the fight was scheduled to go ahead, despite the fact the board had the results of the test for several weeks. So that's the crux of it. Ben is basing his quote-unquote innocence on the WBC's decision to reinstate him in the WBC rankings, and the fact that they studied the 270-page dossier of reasons/excuses for the failed tests. They studied it and they said, yeah, we accept your argument. There's no evidence to say that you were cheating. Okay. Well, one of the reasons is that, first of all, one of the reasons that's been given about Ben's supposed innocence is that he was injecting too many eggs. Well, that's not strictly true. They weren't eggs, it was egg white, which was, they really ramped up the levels of egg white going into Ben to supposedly to bulk him up. These are his nutritionists, and the very small traces of clomiphene were found via those egg whites. It's not like he sat there eating egg after egg after egg. No, it was egg white. We're going to bulk you up, and one of the things we're going to give you is egg whites. Okay. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a scientist. Does that make sense? Maybe. I don't know. Did the British Boxing Board of Control have more time to cancel the fight before the 2 day? It was 2 days. It wasn't a day, when it was a day or 2 days before the fight. It was 2 days, I think. Did they have more time? Yeah, they did. They did, and there's always been a question mark over that. Also, Dillian Whyte's fight with Oscar Rivas was allowed to go ahead when I think it came out about the negative test that Dillian supposedly gave. That was only a day, I think, before the fight, but the board allowed it to go ahead. So it's not as if Ben has nothing to go on here. Now, in this case of the board, there was an interview with Robert Smith a few weeks ago, and the 270-page dossier that contains all the scientific jargon. He said, "Well, we'd love to have a look at it. Where is it? Let's have a look. Come on." They're continuing to do an ongoing investigation into what happened, even though Ben has ripped up his board license. And that 270-page dossier. Now, I've said this all. I've done other videos on this subject, but it seems to me that unless you give that dossier to a group of scientists, nutritionists, people that understand the content of it, who can then assess it, who can then make judgments on the relevancy of it, on the accuracy of the science that's in it, who can, in a sense, peer review it and then come back and say, yeah, this is accurate, and yes, that's a very good point, and no, actually, that's not relevant. And they can actually. I would imagine that when that dossier is, if it was handed over to the board, they would get their own scientists. They would hire their own scientists and say, look, what do you think of this? Does this make any sense? I've never read the document, and even if I did, I wouldn't know what was in it, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not. I don't understand the science behind it, and the science is vital, especially as Ben seems to be saying. These are the reasons. I say Ben, it's going to be his team and his lawyers as well as him. So this is all an interesting development. Which way will it go? I'm not a legal eagle. The onus is on Ben now to, if he does take on the board, him and his team, to prove that the lost money directly comes from the actions of the board. And that can be a difficult thing to prove. Is there any chance of him winning? I would say yes, definitely, because the board didn't act swiftly. And I think it's probably, if I had to guess, again, I'm no legal eagle at all by any means. I've never studied law. But I would imagine this is going to be a precedence thing, because if there have been other examples like the Dillian Whyte one, where the board acted differently under the very same circumstances or very similar circumstances, I think they could be in trouble. Because Eddie Hearn has said, we lost a ton of money, millions of pounds, because of their decision, and that's not a good look. On the other hand, if that dossier is brought to light and is studied by neutral scientists, neutral nutritionists, and they say, well, actually, it's a load of obscurantist spin. If that's what they're coming out with, I think the judge might say, well, hang on a minute, this is, no, there is reason for doubt here. I don't think it's fair to hand over this amount of money to someone who, I mean, they won't phrase it like this, but may not be as innocent as he claims to be. Let's put it that way. Now, don't forget, Nigel Benn, Conor's dad, once ripped up his board license, as Conor has done. And the reason was that, I think this was after he fought Barkley, who'd had Iron Barkley. He stopped Barkley in 3 knockdowns in 1 round. He stopped him in the first round. And the board had not sanctioned that fight because Barkley had a detached retina. And so Ben went on post-fight, ripped up. You can see on YouTube, I remember it happening. He ripped up did it all very dramatically, ripped up his little license. That's what I think of the board, I'll never fight for them again, etc. Of course he did. And Conor's now ripped up his license. Bit of history repeating itself. Whether one was influenced by the other, I don't know. I've absolutely no idea. But all very dramatic. I have to say, Conor Benn has not done himself any favours. He doesn't strike me as being particularly bright, but more importantly, he strikes me as being extremely egotistical. And there is a strong element of self-entitlement that comes across. Now, will that come into play during well, it shouldn't, not during the legal case, but see, I think Ben could win this case, but at the same time not win over the public. I think that's pretty obvious. I think there'll always be a big fat question mark over Conor Benn because of this, rightly or wrongly. And I mean, £3.5 million worth fighting for, isn't it? But if he loses, can you imagine if he took them on and lost? Eddie Hearn, for all his ability to spin things and use, use his charisma and his status as someone who can, sell ice to the Eskimos, that old used car salesman patter, for all of that ability, he hasn't spun this very well at all. And Conor hasn't done himself any favours either. But it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. But I wouldn't rule out a Ben win. Do I personally think Ben is innocent? I can't say no, but I have serious doubts, very serious doubts, and that's it. That's how I think a lot of the public, perceive it. There is a very realistic chance that either Ben or his team used performance-enhancing drugs with the intent of giving Conor Benn an unfair, illegal edge. There is a reasonable chance of that being the case. It may not be the case, but that's how I perceive it, and I think that's how a lot of other people perceive it. So, what do you think? I know this is dragging on and on and on, and you're probably sick of hearing about it, but it's probably got more legs to come, It's probably not over yet, but hey, leave your comments below if you got any. Thanks for, watching the video. I always appreciate your time. Hit the like button, right cross on the subscribe button, and we'll speak again soon. Cheers for your time. Bye for now.